I'm back, Calculate. Did you notice anything different? Okay, so we're on D, and we want to write the absolute, rewrite it without the absolute value. So I'm going to practice my piece function again. So I know that I would essentially drop the bars when this thing is positive. So I have to see when is it positive. So I come over here and I check when is it positive, and of course that'll give me x is greater than negative 3/2, which I've written up there, and then I got to check when is it negative. So if it's negative, of course I would take the opposite sign, which I've written in here in the piece function, and over here I'm going to test to see when is it negative or less than 0, and I'll get x is less than negative 3/2, and since that's the piece it gives me, that's the one I want, and again I can distribute and get negative 2x minus 3. So hopefully you remember from Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, solving your absolute value problem inequalities, and if you saw the greater than symbol, because it's greater, I'm going to misspell this on purpose, I'll use or. I'll use the word or. That'll be the joiner for the two inequalities that I'm going to write. And if it's a less than, I purposely misspell this because it helps me remember that it's an and conjunction to join the two statements. So the first statement, I drop the bars, keep everything the same. Then I'm going to join this with an or. And the second one, because I'm really working off of the negative, so what's really happening is this. I have the negative version greater than 0.05, but we remember that if we want to get rid of the negative on the left side, we divide it out. So we divide both sides by -1, and when I divide by -1, it flips that arrow. So this is what you were taught, is that you flip the sign and flip the sign. And you can still use that train of thought. I'm just showing you the magic that actually works behind the math. Okay, I'm going to solve each of these, and those are my solutions, and then I'm going to show the graph. So I would be greater than, that's better. I'd be greater than -1.95, so you can see that over here. And I'd be less than -2.05, so you can see that over here. And then if I write that in interval notation now, so the left piece goes from -infinity to -2.05. There's an open circle there, so I'll do a parentheses. And it's an or statement. The little u means or. This is how I remember that this is or, and this is and I remember that because that looks like the n in and. That's a little helpful tip. And then the second piece goes from -1.95 open to positive infinity. And so that's how I would write my answer in interval notation. Okay, on to the next one. So I've written my two separate inequalities. Notice the one on the left looks exactly like the original without the bars. And the second one, I used that shortcut rule, which is change the direction of the arrow and change the sign on the answer. But that's just because I was doing the negative of the left side, and then I moved that negative over to the left. Okay, so I'm going to solve each of these. So there's my two values. You should be trying to do these on your own while I'm doing them, by the way. And then I'm going to graph. And notice I filled in both circles because I had equal to signs on it. And typically I'll know that I'm going to have a graph that looks like this with an and statement, because I think of it as I'm getting 2 Oreo cookies on the end and the filling inside. And so I can write it in interval notation. And of course I'll use the brackets because I had 2 closed-in bubbles, and there's no separate statement because it was between them. See you in the next video, kids!